Hello from a rather sunny UK. As you can tell, I've got sunshine on my face. I've got no lights on in the room. It's brilliant. And it's lovely and warm and the window's open. So if you hear the church bells and the birds singing, I make no apologies. On a day like this, it's rare as hell, so I'm going to make the most of it. So the lights will come on, I think, a little bit later as it gets darker. But welcome one and all. And I hope that wherever you are in the world, or wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this, whether you're watching live or on catch-up, that you've had a marvellous day as much as we have here. That's the very British weather thing out of the way. We've got a fantastic set of guests for you today, but I do need to make some apologies before we carry on. Ben will not be able to join us today because Ben's not very well. He's laid up in bed, bless him. He's on drugs and all sorts of things, but he should be back next week. I hope so, because I'm not here. So who's going to run the show? Ben, if you're watching, and I hope you are, get well soon, mate, and take the greatest of care. I'm sure Vicky's looking after you, so I hope you feel better soon, and you'll be back in no time at all. Also, before we do anything else, just get through the usual gubbins here. Please do like the show if you like it, of course. If you don't like it, well, don't like it. But, it would be great if you could. It doesn't cost you anything. Hit that little thumbs up button. And if you haven't already subscribed to us, then you get notifications of all the shows and when they come on. And, of course, if you want to share us around, tell your friends and your family if they might be interested, then please do. I've just noticed my hair is like really, this one, yes, very nice. If you want to follow us on all the socials, of course, we are all across those, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and, of course, here on YouTube, all the same handle, @ProSynth Network, so you can follow us there. We don't do huge amounts of updates on all of those, but of course the Facebook group is the central kind of hub for the community there. We do this all completely free of charge. You don't have to pay a single penny, but if you would like to help keep us going, because we do rely entirely on our viewer donations, then you can do that in just a couple of ways. First of all, if you want to use PayPal, you're more than welcome to do that. There's the link. There's a clickable link in the description just down below. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you can use the super chat or super sticker functions and send us a message with whatever you can afford, or not. You don't have to. There's no pressure at all. So thank you to everyone who has donated in the past and to everyone that might donate later, because I'll probably forget you, because I don't have my cohort by my side to look after all of those sorts of things. So I apologize in advance, but thank you for everything that you do. Now, before I introduce our guests, I do want to say that if you have a question for them at all, then if you can just prefix your question in the chat with a big capital Q, that just helps me with my dodgy eyesight pick it out, toss it into a special bucket that we will then pull out later and ask our guests. If we don't get to your question, I apologise, but I'm just running this solo today, so apologies again if I miss anything there. Right, that's that. Let's first of all, before we meet our very special guest, let's go across to the southwest of London and to our regular companion, Mr. Kent Spong. Welcome. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Yes. How's the shed?
The shed is... Oh, yeah. Wow. Yes, she's lovely.
Good, yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, get an armchair in there, I'm done, mate.
Oh, very nice. Well, I'm looking forward to come and see that. So,
yes.
That should be fun. Anything else been happening in your world this week?
No.
Just fixing stuff?
Just, trying to find out where certain things have disappeared to. I can't find a chop saw. I don't know.
Yeah, but you found a Rev 3 Prophet 5.
Yeah,
that you didn't know you had.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting.
As one does.
I'll probably do something with that.
You can put it in the boot of my car tomorrow. That's what you can do with it.
Yeah.
Very nice. To be in that position. I see Vangelis has taken pride of place. He wasn't there the last time I saw you, was he? Just over there by the cupboard door?
Yeah, he was... I think he was. I think he's been there about a week and a bit.
Right.
2 weeks now. But it's... Okay. Yeah, you know it's like... Okay.
Yeah.
He just lurks in the background as usual.
As usual, yeah. As does Hans. Looking smug, but then he has every right to. Well, welcome back, mate. It's good to have you here. Just me and thee and our guests, which I think we'll manage. Let's go to our guests. Let's bring in the main lady. This is Tara Busch of I Speak Machine, all the way from California, Los Angeles. How is it over there?
Sunny.
And hot, I guess. And you're not a fan of that, are you?
No, I'm not, but it's nice. After driving, Maf and I drove what, 11 hours in a blizzard to get to our Buffalo show, which
Yeah.
I'll get into that later. I'm not going to complain about LA weather ever again. But
And how was the tour?
So, magical. I'm still a bit stunned, to be honest. We've been back a week, and I still don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's like post-tour blues.
Yeah.
But you're gearing up because you're going out again soon, aren't you?
Yeah, we're going to the EU, starting Dublin on May 24th, and then ending June 17th in Frankfurt. So
nice.
I wish we were doing the UK, but we're not. We're doing the EU. So.
Yeah, it's well, we'll talk about that later. But you've got to get over here because we all want to see you. We all want to see you. So we'll get that sorted. And we're also joined by I guess the lesser of the two in the collective, shall we say? I'm only going to say that because I love him dearly. Mr. Maf Lewis, who is you're in the same building, but you're in like the living area, aren't you? And Tara's in the studio. Tara, sorry.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was amazed you got Tara right instead of Tara.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to get it wrong at some point, so I apologise. But yeah,
we have both British and American friends that have got that wrong for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So well done.
Yeah,
I would like to think that the lesser of the two is definitely my designation. I'm absolutely fine with that.
Well, because you're like an audio-visual collaboration, and Tara is the audio, and you are the visual, essentially.
Yeah. Tara does all the music stuff, and I do all the visual side of it. Though we do cross a little bit at times.
Okay.
Mainly more in concept than actual work.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time since I've done anything in the studio, and I just concentrate on the film stuff.
Yeah, and a great job you're both doing. I mean, let's bring everybody into the room now. We're all friends now. So you've got we'll talk about it in detail later, but you've got a new album coming out next Friday, which I have to say is flipping amazing, and it really is great. I mean, as soon as I heard Metal, the first single, it was just like, wow, that's in my ears, and I couldn't get rid of it. Like I was just humming it. It's just superb. And we'll play a clip from that later. But you've got a new album. You just finished one tour with Gary Numan over in the States. You're coming again over to the EU. So it's busy. I mean, because you've been quiet for a while doing, I guess, developing stuff, and now it's like
it's been kind of a lot going on because as you probably know, because you've seen this a few times. I Speak Machine started as, more of a film music project where, Maf and I created films to be screened live with me playing the score live. And this was we kind of deviated a bit from that for me to do an artist album. I'm not quite sure what else to call them. An album with songs. Being a soundtrack. I guess just more of I loathe to use this word, but more traditional format, album artist sort of thing. Also, I loathe to use the word composer because I don't consider myself that either. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of score work and stuff like that. But this is the first sort of album I've done since the Pilfisher Lane record, which was 2009.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't get into doing film music till I want to say about 2010ish. So, and we really concentrated on the film and music for a long time. So this was the first kind of more music centric project. And I worked with another producer called Dean Honer, who's over in Sheffield as well. So who's a complete fucking wizard. Sorry, am I allowed to?
Yeah, you swear, that's fine.
Because it's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a very different, quite a redirect in many ways. So Maf and I worked together on the creative direction for the album design, but the videos, still were all his crazy brain. It was the first one for The Middle of My Hell was actually the most fun video I think
it looked it.
It was
Yeah.
a blast, absolute blast. The snorri cam running up and down the hills in 95-degree Los Angeles heat,
And leather as well.
PVC.
Oh, it's PVC.
Walking,
Okay.
walking through the park with this big crown on. Luckily, it's LA, so nobody gives a shit. So it's like, oh, it's just another weirdo. But, put the snorri cam on. That's like, how good are you at running? All right, run.
Go.
Yes.
Brilliant.
It was very aggressive, and there's just a lot of stuff that kind of very organically fell into place for this one, because it took a long time to make and a long time to really conceive too, and really understand what the voice was going to be. So many elements involved, like the sort of my film music work and everything like that, even that how that sound bled into it, and so it just took a long time to get itself together. It almost feels like its own entity in a way.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I've got to say, and I'm not blowing smoke up the proverbial, but it really, I mean, it's just a great album. It sounds amazing. The visuals are, of Maf's usual standard, and you in the visuals look fantastic. So it's the whole package is great. And all I need now is just to see that done live. So get over here, please, because I can't get over there at the moment. So get over here.
Yeah.
But we'll talk more about the album and the whole project, and we'll talk about the gear that you're using, what you're using in the studio, what you're using live, and all that kind of nerdy stuff. But before we do, there's a few news topics that we're not gonna spend huge amounts of time on these, because there isn't a lot, and I want to spend as much time as I can with you guys, because we don't get this chance very often. And for those that are waiting, I do know we've had some requests pre-show for an appearance by Strelka. Strelka is a very important part of the I Speak Machine collective, and we might be getting a small appearance. I did speak to
she's our resident studio manager, I think you call her. Yeah,
an emotional support. Oh, there she is.
Oh, look at that.
She's pretty sleepy at the moment.
Oh,
I've just woken her up from lying in the sun.
She's
too
cute. Well, Kent will probably be joined at some point with at least one or two of his. There's Siri's just gone running out the back.
No, come on then. Come on, Nose.
Oh, this is it. See, Noah's my favourite.
Here we go.
There we go. Let's have a dog off.
Lord.
Say hello.
Look.
Look at that.
We could just do this as a show, couldn't we? Just like this.
No,
I'll go get my cats.
Simpson dogs are all that matters.
Oh, bless them. Because you took Strelka out on tour with you.
We did.
Which is that must have been interesting.
She's quite shy with people, and it was hard for her to kind of get her head around. Like the past few years with COVID, we were really, really isolated, because we didn't do anything. We didn't go anywhere or anything like that. And I think we were the only two people she saw for like 2 years. And then all of a sudden, the whole band and everybody, it's like people all the time everywhere. And she's a bit taken aback. But luckily also the band and Gary and Gemma are all very, very, very big animal lovers.
I was going to say, yeah.
Kind of like a bit, I wouldn't say relentless, but they just made her, they're like, she's going to love us by the end. Like, bark, 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 bark. And then there's, they just go in and pet her and she'd stop,
Oh, bless.
But they were all very, very, really loved having her around, and she loved Gemma. We'd say Gemma, tweak her head,
Bless.
So,
Awesome.
It was great having her though.
Cool stuff. Right, well, let's get some of these little news topics out of the way first, and then we'll crack into the more in-depth and interesting discussions. So, first thing to mention, and this is kind of relevant to everyone in the room, either from an artist perspective or a repair perspective. Hopefully not so much in the repair I can't even say the word perspective. Is the great news that Tom Oberheim is back with the Oberheim company. It's all kicking off. There was a really cool little kind of introductory video. So let me just grab that and I'll play that for you now. Here we go.
track.
Gonna party like it's 2099.
I've got to say, even I got a little bit emotional there because it was a kind of a cool little thing. And when the camera pans to Dave, it's like, oh, the gang's all here. And there's this little thing, you know, the bartender there saying, we're going to party like it's 2099. And a lot of people have been speculating because they've also set up the website. Let me just add this to the screen here. So the website has got that video, and it talks about he's working on something new, can't tell us about it yet, watch the video, blah blah blah. So a lot of people have been speculating 2099, so there's that, you know, reference to Prince 1999, which of course he used the Oberheim for that, so maybe they're doing like an OBX or an OB8 or something like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting stuff. But the guy's back. Tara, you are an Oberheim user. You've got some Oberheim gear in the studio, haven't you?
Yeah. I think it's magnificent. You know, it's so the Oberheim 2 voice that I've got was used a ton on this record.
Oh yeah.
And the Medal of My Hell, for example, was done. All the synth sounds are 2 voice.
Mm-hmm.
Everything on it. The sequence started that way. In fact, that sequence actually was created as a demo for a film cue for a horror film I was pitched for.
Okay.
And it got rejected. So I was like, well, fuck, that's a fucking great sequence.
Yeah.
So that's all Oberheim 2 voice, and I know it's all over the record. But that's the first song that pops into my head, and man, that I just remember the first time I actually played a 2 voice was at Dean Honer's studio, who's the co-producer on War, and I was just like, I've got to have one of these. Ooh, you know, like swoonful crazy romance you get when you play a synth and you know it's for you. You know, it's just like yours. And so, yes, I'm very excited. I know they've made an updated pro version, and I love that too. But I'm really excited to see what they do. I do have the OB6, which is wonderful.
Okay.
Had an OB8, but sadly had to sell it, and I actually did cry when I sold it.
Yeah.
But the OB8, I think, is still, you know, never got over it. But the 2 voice is my favorite.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to see if they do something like an OB8 sort of thing. And being a very, very big Prince fan too, I'd be really interested to see.
Yeah.
It's a shame he's not around to see this, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Wagyu in the chat room says that he reckons it's the OBX since Sequential registered the trademark for that last year. So maybe that is a hint towards what it might be. See if they register that. Who knows? But thanks for the information there. Kent, from a repair tech perspective, are you thinking, like, you know, when they brought out the Rev 4 Prophet 5, that at last people will just go out and buy one of the new ones that comes with all modern parts and warranties, and they will not be knocking on your door to repair the old stuff?
Yeah, well, at least the 2s anyway. I don't mind the 3s, they're fine. The Rev 2s, bonfire fodder, they really are.
Do you get many Oberheims passing through your hands?
I've got about 6 here now.
Oh, bloody hell.
I got 2 8s, 2 X's and an OBX. Yeah, an A, 2 A's and an X. So the X is my favourite, I must admit.
Yeah. Didn't you have a SEM? You had a SEM there, didn't you, when I was there last?
Yeah, there's still a 4 voice here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was that dual manual 8 voice, wasn't there? It was
Oh,
One of the
yes.
first custom ones he ever made. Instead of having a programmer, and it was, I went for a stupid money.
Yeah.
So there's huge demand for Oberheim stuff. People love the Oberheim stuff, and so him coming back with some stuff. I hope he does the X. I really do hope he does the X, and I also hope he does the OB1 as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is it's kind of a unique sounding mono synth in much the same way as the System 100 keyboard is, or the forget the other fella, but it's sort of like really sort of like strong, iconic, but warm and creamy, which Oberheim really is good for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's I'm glad to see him back. To be honest,
I'm really interested to see if they do like a DMX or DX again, something like that.
I was just about to say, if they did a modern version of the DMX, I think I'd be down for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be amazing.
We do this show in Cambridge. We do it. We haven't done it for a couple of years for obvious reasons. But there's a guy, Pete, that brings a DMX along, and like everybody goes up to that first, I think, and then they all try and play Blue Monday on it and fail. That would be a really nice thing.
There's some Easter egg or something, isn't there, on that one where you?
Is there?
Yeah, you fire it up with a certain. Press certain buttons and fire it up, and it comes up with some very rude expletive at you.
Oh, right.
So there was room in the code for it, so why not?
Yeah.
So, and I can't for the life of me remember what the combo was. I have to find out again.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
that's always funny. So I go, there you go. That's what your machine thinks of you, mate.
Tell me if I'm remembering this right. Didn't Benj Edwards lend you a two voice at some point, like ages ago?
He did. Yeah.
Mm.
And then
What was-
Alessandro Cortini bought it.
Right.
So those noises you heard in the background were names dropping on the floor. That's him.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
But it's true.
Had Benj Edwards on your show?
not yet. I've reached out to him. I had this wonderful serendipitous moment a few years ago at Synth Fest when I did this Fairlight seminar, and Benj has got Fairlight, and we've conversed over email about fixing things. And he just kind of towards the end of the day, I was like packing things up, and he just kind of crept up very quietly behind me because he's a very soft, quiet, and he just tapped me on the shoulder and says, "That was really good." And I was like, "Oh my god, hero!"
He helped me lay my patio. Poor bastard. He only came round to drop off a couple of keyboards and pick up a couple of keyboards and go. And my mum was there, well, she was still around, bless her, and she's going, "Oh, can you just take this big bag of sand?" And he goes, "Yeah, all right." Next minute, he's taking paving slabs and laying them down. So,
Yeah, no, that was
he's a good old boy.
He's a very nice man, and we had a little chat, and I was just a little bit starstruck and sort of tongue tied, but I'd managed to tell him that because he did that album, didn't he? 20 Systems, where each track is one instrument, and he had the Fairlight on there, and he didn't go down the obvious route of using the samples. He actually used the bloody difficult fast Fourier transform additive thing. So it's like this thing's just evolving over time, and I just said to him how brave that was and how good it was, and he was just like, super grateful. And it was just a lovely little moment. I shall take that one with me.
Yeah, that was like a list of all my. It was I restored that one. Yeah, I restored that one. I restored that one. Yeah, that was a bucket of bolts. Yeah,
indeed. Maf, we haven't spoken to you. You've got anything to say about Oberheim coming back? Are you excited?
Well, look, as a sort of part-time synth nerd, nothing like any of you guys or any of your people watching. I am. I'm a big fan of the sounds Tara gets out of the two voice and the DMX, and and I loved when she had the OBA. It's an amazing synth. So I mean, it's great, and obviously everybody loves him, and he's a great person, and it would be just wonderful to see these old synths coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you got to. We have Dave Smith stuff, so it's a great addition to our our Terra studio. and hopefully this will be as well.
Yeah, cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see a great name, and he's such a nice guy. And of course, Dave Spears did that addendum to Bright Sparks, because he couldn't get Tom for the original shoot, so he managed to get him afterwards. And of course, that all ended up with the officially Oberheim approved OBE plugin from GeForce, which I don't know if you've tried that at all, but it's
I haven't.
incredible. It's an 8-voice in software. Yeah, it's just insane. It's really, really good. Really good.
I've never.
And he did it. He did it, and then I think Marcus literally saw the advert and got in his car and went over to Tom's. And of course, Tom is shielding at the time, and so Marcus has got his iPad holding it up to Tom at his doorstep, saying, "Have you seen this?" and shows him this demo. And Tom's like, "Wow, that's cool." So when they did the V2 update, it got the official Oberheim endorsement. So that was cool. Anyway, so yeah, Oberheim's back. If you want to learn more, there's not much information at the moment, but oberheim.com is where you need to go to find out a little bit about that. Now, our friends across the water in France, Arturia, have got a brand new instrument out, which is the first of a lot of stuff that's coming out from Arturia in the next few weeks and months. So get your wallets well stocked, because there's going to be some really, really cool stuff. But this is the brand new instrument from Arturia. It's called Augmented Strings. There you go. That is Augmented Strings Intro. So this is a free instrument, or at least it's free until the end of April, so April 30th. And it's the very first of the Augmented series. So I don't know what else is going to come, but I guess it's going to be sort of the same kind of thing. They've gone down the route of a kind of very Spitfire audio-esque interface with this large dial in the middle and a few other little bits peppered around where you can just mess around with the effects. Color and motion and time are the other options, and then of course you've got some delay and reverb in there, and it's stacked full of some really useful presets to get on with, and of course you can then tweak and make your own stuff. But it seems to be following this new trend of taking authentically sampled strings and combining them with synthesis, and then allowing you to blend and shape between the two. So this is more of a kind of a pad background sort of atmospheric thing, rather than a lead instrument like we were talking about last week with Bohemian violin. Now I've had a play with this, and it's incredibly sort of inspiring paddy type thing. You can start doing nice long lush chords, and the very cool thing about this is that the interface is actually, it says, very nice and simple. But these strings that form the body of the violin actually vibrate in time with what you're playing. So there's a nice little visual experience going on as well. So it's an interesting thing. I guess I'm probably the only one that's maybe had a go with this. But let's go to our guest, Tara. I know you a lot for your hardware, obviously, but I do know that you dabble in the software world as well. You use both. Would this be something of interest to you in your productions?
Possibly, if I were to do, it looks like something that would be more applicable in a film score. I was doing a film a couple of years ago, and that I kind of dabbled in looking at some, like you mentioned, Spitfire, and there were a few other that are not popping into my brain right now, but lots of orchestral libraries that are quite useful if you're pushed for time and you have to just, because a lot of times people just want like a certain sound, and they don't really want you to put your trademark on it so much. being a sound. It's just
Yeah.
like or just a string sound. But yeah, it does look a lot like that sort of thing, like more of a sample library for a film. I mean, just even looking at it. But I think it's always interesting to kind of crack open your expectations and your methods and see, why don't I just try this weird little piece of software, see what it does to my brain, So it's always kind of, especially since it's free, and our church stuff is always great. So I think it's always really important to at least look at things and see what they are and see how they sound and see how you react to it. So, I mean, yeah. I would totally try it, absolutely, especially for a film project. Press for time on something, and you never know where something's gonna go. So
yeah,
it's important to try things.
Yeah, Ken, you like your Lush pads.
I do,
and do that. Have you tried this yet?
No, I was unaware of it until just now. But because it's free, it's going to counterbalance beautifully the fact that I just bought the Spitfire Audio one.
What, the Polaris?
Yeah. So I can have the two running, and to hell with them. Yeah. It's like you say, it's the new thing, isn't it? It's the new butter.
Yes.
Of taking conventional instruments and super mangling without losing the character of what it is you're using, but to synthesize it up a bit.
Yeah.
Because well, you know as well as I do, the orchestral libraries are now done. You've got about 40 companies who've been religiously sampling the living crap out of them for the last 10-15 years. It's done, and it's very good. Yeah. And now it's time to move on to, and this is the next thing. And it's been interesting, I must admit.
Yeah, because this claims to have these 5 kind of components. So you've got multi-sample layering, you've got virtual analog, you've got wavetable, you've got granular, and you've got harmonics, whatever that sort of specifically means. But it's when you're turning that morph dial, and I'm deliberately avoiding using the other word because it will just make everyone giggle. But when you're turning that center dial, it does go from this kind of very authentic string sound to something that does sound a little processed, and that's nice. That's a good thing, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's completely free of charge, and apparently is the first of a number of instruments that will form part of the Augmented series, whatever that means. So I guess we're going to see maybe woodwinds and brass and other things that are going to be augmented by synthesis methods. But yeah, it's completely free of charge. Arturia.com is where you need to go, and it's free until April 30th. I don't know what the price will be after that, or even if it will be available after that, because they did that with was it the Juno Chorus thing? They had you could get the Juno Chorus plugin for free for a certain while, and then it went away, and then they kind of finagled it back in through the effects package or something. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, go and grab it now because it's free. It won't cost you a penny at all. Right, let's see what else we've got here. I just want to whiz through this. This one's interesting. So again, this is another freebie. We do like the freebie stuff, and this is very kind of retro. For those of us who cut our teeth on Casio and Yamaha Porta Sound and those kind of keyboards, you can now get one in the plugin, and it won't cost you a penny. that brings back memories. Those kind of very thin and pure, I guess, tones of those kind of simple. Some of them
it's over.
Yeah, but back in those days, that's a lot of people could afford. I mean, my first kind of proper synthesizer, if you could call it that wasn't a Commodore 64 or something attached to a Commodore 64, was the VSS 200, which was one of those kind of cheap Yamaha 2-operator FM things, but it had a sampler built in, which made it much more up my street. But I think we all kind of cut our teeth on that, and some people are doing amazing things with it. And I remember because I sold my VSS 200 back in the early 90s, and managed to find another one a few years ago, and plugged it in, listened to it. I thought, it was pretty crap, wasn't it? And then, hang on a minute, I've actually got a whole bunch of gear I can stick it through now and make it sound different. And oh boy, it just it's a completely different thing now. So yeah, I mean, Tara, have you ever utilised any of these kind of cheap toy keyboards in any of your work?
Yep, the title track to War, the song War, was made on this guy.
Oh yes, the SK1.
And but we talk about processing it, and then I put it through this guy.
Oh, very nice.
So it was I think let me see. I want to say it was the pops setting, the do 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 do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can hear it now. Yeah.
I took all right. So I took that and put it through the cluster flux, which caused the thing. So if you listen back to it, you can hear the kind of bendy stuff, which was done with the feedback on the cluster flux. So the answer is yes. The short answer is yes. I love Cazios. And he is probably listening. My friend Joe O'Connor sent me
He's
one.
in the room.
He's like, you need to have this Cazio I found.
Nice.
PT30, but yes, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
Awesome. I was just trying to remember this, because this is a sample of the MT100, which I used to sell these things. Hang on, I'm just going to put my lights on because we're now dipping. There we go. Let's drop that. Make myself look a little bit pale. There we go. So I used to sell these things. I used to work at Argos, and we just had tons of them in the catalogue. And I used to get them out when it was quiet and just test them out and find one. The one that I really loved was the Yamaha one, which had the big drum pads at the bottom. I can't remember what model, 790, I think it was. Loved those things. But yeah, I mean, it's just a sound that evokes so many memories, and it's just cool to see that. Talented artists are using them and still making some really cool stuff with them.
That's a really good point.
Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
So sorry, I was just going to say that's a really good point there, Rob. That's the nostalgia that comes from not only playing those instruments as an artist, but hearing it as a fan. That's really important. Because obviously, emotion is a big part of music. So I think that's a key element there.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, a lot of people circuit bend these things, which I'm not sure if I like that, because I like the original sound. Like you say, it's nostalgic, and when you start messing around with it, sure, it's doing something new and exciting with it, but I'd rather not destroy one of these things. But each to their own. It's cool. Lots of people, lots of love for these things. By the way, Joe O'Connor is in the room. He's chuffed to see that the PT30 is still in the armoury. Hello, Joe. Of course, Joe is a good friend of yours, a good friend of mine. He did a lot of voiceover work for Zombies 1985 and a whole bunch of other stuff as well, because he's a voiceover artist extraordinaire.
Yeah, Joe did some amazing stuff for us.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Brock, what was it named? Was it Brock?
Brock Horton.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
That's right.
So we were over in the US doing that, and I was looking for voiceover artists, and I just couldn't find an American. Literally couldn't find an American in Hollywood to do the voice I wanted, and I tried a bunch out. So we had to go back over to Milton Keynes to get Joe to do an American accent for us. So it was great.
Yeah, no.
Brilliantly.
Big waves to Joe.
And he's also, whenever we have a bunch of scripts in development, and whenever there's any voiceover, radio, anything like that, always Joe's voices or voices, should I say?
Yeah, quite.
In my mind when I'm writing. So
yeah,
we'll be working together again.
Yeah, if anybody is in the market for a voiceover artist, Joe's your man. So we'll happily put you in touch. So that's the retro Cazio. Ken, any thoughts on that one? Are you with all those
good?
No, okay.
No, honestly, you see, for me, with these machines, I've had them. I've had the PSS 360, you name it. But going back to them, for me, it's like the Pritzel family going back to the dungeon just to recapture the experience. I don't want to go back there. I really don't.
That's an analogy.
Yeah, but it's this. I'm really, really content with all the really beautiful modern digital that we got now.
Yes. There's a story about Ken being trapped in a dungeon with an old synth somewhere, isn't there?
There's got to be. Yeah.
What happened to you, Ken?
Yeah, it ruined
What did they
me.
do?
It ruined me.
Show us where they hurt. Show us on here where they hurt you. Oh dear. Yeah.
Touch the CSAD where they hurt you.
So Retro Cazio is available from. Let me just press the button here to make sure we can get it on the screen. Oh, there we go. It's available from sample sites. It's completely free of charge, and you get 20 voices, 20 sampled voices. There's a drum kit in there, and they've also added a multi-LFO, a high-pass, low-pass filter, reverb, glide, some amplitude range controls, and 3 voice modes: polyphonic, legato, and mono. So they've added a whole bunch of stuff into there as well, which makes it a lot more versatile.
Well, I must admit, I am a sucker for the drum sounds.
Yeah.
Not so much the notey bits, but the drum sounds. Yeah. I'm kind of a sucker for those, I must admit.
And these core sample sites are the people behind a whole bunch of other things, but they've got all sorts of sample packs, and they do stuff for Decent Sampler and Contact and Reason, and go and check them out. And so there is some free stuff. You've got some sample packs and the instruments in there as well, so you can go and test them out, and rather nice stuff. So I thought we'd give those a little show. Couple more things very, very quickly. I wanted to mention this one. I can't really talk about it. I can't talk about it in detail because I haven't tried it yet, but I am definitely interested in this as an drummer myself. So I use Toontrack Superior Drummer 3 as my drum brain for my drum kit, and UVI have just released Soul Drums, which is kind of a very kind of smaller version of instruments like Easy Drummer or Superior Drummer 3, but this focuses on one kit, but with something like 140 odd thousand samples, lots of detail in here, so you can really customize the kit. And so, whereas Superior Drummer has a whole bunch of different kits that you can select from, this is just the one kit, but it's supremely configurable. It's currently on offer. It normally retails €149 and dollar. Is now on offer introductory. I don't know, it doesn't say how long for, but should be a few weeks. And that's $99 at the moment. It's like 12 gigabytes of samples at a very high sample rate. How do you get your drums? Because the drums in certainly on the War album are spectacular and just massive and like really in your face. Is that mostly hardware, or are you using drum libraries at all?
So that is a lot of that is Dean, because he's a fucking beast with drums, and that is something that I am not very good at, is drum programming. But a lot of what was sketched out was done on the 808 here, and also the Oberheim DX.
Okay.
And then, we would go back and forth with a lot of the sounds, and I think that he wound up using some Lindrum samples. And I can't remember what else he used on it, but I know that he used a lot of samples, but he's also just got this impeccable ear for drums as well. So that's, his sorcery, I gotta say.
Yeah.
And it just, drop a few sort of production notes, but we didn't really have to go into much detail. He just kind of knew what I wanted. And just amazing.
Yeah.
A big kind of inspiration for the drums on that was Bowie's Low. So
I can hear that now.
So and Add Into X, the Avant-Garde record was a very good inspiration sound-wise. I think those two, Low and Avant-Garde, were very, very big drum guides. As well as a little bit of Ministry, to be honest, early Ministry. But yeah, a little bit of hardware was used here, and then it was passed on to him. I know what he did.
It's witchcraft, I tell you. I mean, we love the stuff that UVI does, and this, if this follows the rest of their stuff, it's going to be deeply multi-sampled and very configurable. Looking forward to giving that a try, especially once I can get my bloody drum kit set up. But I've got to shift a Fairlight. You don't want to buy a Fairlight, do you, at all? No, need some space.
It's interesting. It's a thought.
Yeah, well, you know where to come. I'm going to whiz through because I'm conscious that we don't waste too much time. There are two other pieces of news that I wanted to mention. One's kind of interesting because it involves. So we already knew that Native Instruments and Izotope had kind of been acquired and put under an umbrella company, and they've now been joined by Plugin Alliance, who I'm quite a growing fan of, shall we say, because they do some great plugins and some really good deals as well. But they've now given the name to this umbrella organization called Soundwide, and it now encompasses Native Instruments, Izotope, Plugin Alliance, and Brainworx, who do most of the plugins that are sold on Plugin Alliance, and they are pretty much all really super accurate emulations of things like SSL desks and Neves and Focusrites and Ampeg amplifiers, and they've got a pretty good reputation of being very high quality. So I don't think this is anything for us to be concerned about, all these companies being swallowed up under one group. I think that will help with kind of cross-pollination of talent and resource. But the good thing about it for us is that at the moment, to celebrate this amalgamation, there's some great bargains to be had. So you can go and get, up until April 26th, so you've got about 11 days to go. If you go to the Plugin Alliance website, you can get what they call their introductory pack, which includes a Focusrite channel plugin, an Oberhausen, which is like an Oberheim clone. There's dog barking. There's an Ampeg Classic. There's Shadow Hill's mastering compressor. A whole bunch of others. There's about 6 plugins, which normally I think full price separately is about $1,100. They discount it normally to $600. You can get it for free up until April 26th with just the code Join Soundwide. So go to the website, put that code in, you get it for free. Izotope are also giving away Neutron Elements free of charge, and Native Instruments are giving away Ethereal Earth plugin. So there's lots of kind of freebies to be had from this kind of amalgamation of all of these companies. So go fill your boots. But I just wanted to get that one in. And finally, this is an interesting one because when Korg initially released the Volca FM, and of course everyone's going to say, oh, here's Rob going on about FM again. When they did that, it was the Volca FM was 3-voice polyphonic, which I thought was odd. Didn't respond to velocity over MIDI, so you had to control the velocity with a slider on the unit itself whilst you were playing a 3-note chord, which just seemed very odd. So Volca FM Mk.II has launched and now features 6-voice polyphony. It responds to velocity over MIDI and has had a whole bunch of other improvements. Let's just very quickly play the video for you. So this is the second edition of Volca FM. It's got 64 new presets. It's got the extra polyphony. It's got the extra features with the velocity. Of course, it features all the usual wonderful things that Volca's come with: battery powered or mains powered, full MIDI and sync connectivity. It's got some new effects on there with individual controls for them and a whole bunch of cool stuff. I couldn't find a price, but I'm guessing these are always sub 200 bucks or pounds, and they're, quite a cool little machine. So I've got to ask the question I ask of all my prey. Tara, do you use FM a lot?
I don't know.
Go on, admit it. You're in friends here. Don't worry. No,
I have no idea.
no.
I can't remember what that is, to be honest. Tell me. You
well,
seem to know.
Well, yeah, apparently so. I'm told. No, I mean, I just kind of, because when I hear your music, it's very, I'm going to say metallic. It has a hard edge. It has a hard edge to it, and I would have thought that kind of FM would have lent itself to that sound palette, with the obvious, metallic sounds and glassy sounds that it can produce. I was just curious as to see whether that had entered into your palette.
I'd like to know too. I think that probably I probably do. I'm not sure. I'd have to tell you what synths I use, and you can tell me if they can do that or not. I don't think I was.
Have you ever used any keyboards that you found in a skip to do your music? It's possibly you've used FM.
I missed the trend. But,
well, next time you're over, we'll go through. We'll show you the wall of FM.
I failed.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I'm sure I have. I kind of know what it is, but I'm going to keep embarrassing myself if I can.
Well, if you want to get into it, this is a cool way of doing it, because it's very small, and it's very affordable, and it's very easy to use. And it's something you can just chuck in your bag and take with you wherever you want to go, if you want to do that sort of thing.
I definitely do.
Oh, look, there's a stroker dog. And we've got Siri.
Oh, sis.
Bless. Dogs to rescue us all from the FM. Anybody got anything else to say about Korg Volca FM Mk.II before we shut that one down? No,
it sounded pretty good, actually.
It did, actually, yeah. But then it is FM. Of course, it sounds good. I'm biased. Okay, right. Well, that's all the news for this week. Let us talk to our guests. We've got Tara Busch, we've got Maf Lewis, both in the same house in slightly different rooms. In fact, the room that you're in, Tara, I've slept in that room, haven't I?
Yes, yes, you have.
I did, yes. That was, and it doesn't look like it's changed that much. But that's your little kind of home studio. That's where you do most of your recording these days.
I do. I do. Yes. I do my vocals here. When we first moved here, I was going to make that closet a vocal booth, but
I remember you saying, yeah.
It's now full of boxes and costumes.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Such is life. Yeah, unfortunately.
And I didn't really get very good performances that way. I just and with singing, I just I like to keep it to 3 takes at the most. Yeah. I like to sing the song. I'm not a big fan of comping. So I just I had to go where I would be able to really get into it, and I just couldn't find it in me to do the closet.
I'm sure there's a joke about closets in there somewhere, but we won't go there.
Walk right into it. So
let's go way back to the beginning. Now I'm trying to think when I first heard of you. I'm sure it was a YouTube video and you were demoing something like a Mellotron or a Moga Fuga pedal or something like that. But you and your musical career go like way back. So kind of take us from the beginning, because you're a North Carolina girl, is that correct?
Well, I was born in Connecticut, and that was, I've let's see, how far back we want to go. Well, I started singing as a kid. No, but I did. I was in musical theater for a really long time, a really long time, till I was about 14. No, 13. something like that. So I've got an older brother called Todd, who is a incredible musician, and we did music together for a long time. We were in a band together, and I completely idolized him. And he played me Janis Joplin when I was about 13, and Jimi Hendrix. I was like, I don't think I want to deal with Andrew Lloyd Webber ever again. So we, got in a band together and would kind of mess around with music. I mean, he was always a much, much better writer than I ever was. He's just brilliant. The kind of person that would just pick up an instrument and immediately be able to play it. Just incredible. So we just always, typical, like, smoked a lot of weed, did a lot of drugs together, did a lot of music. Eventually split off, and I joined a band called Dalai Lama when I was 16. And that went on till, that was kind of like a, that would have been around like the early 90s. That went on, I think we broke up around 1995, and I was in that out of high school. Really, really went for it too. And after that, just with the demise of that band, I was kind of lost after that, because I really threw all my eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
So when I was, from 16 to about 21. Yeah, and then like through the 90s, I just didn't really know what the hell I was doing. I really wanted to get into music production, but I was still just a singer, and was really into like industrial music, and yeah, and unfortunately started to get into drinking an awful lot, and a few little bouts with drugs and shit like that. So that kind of slowed me down quite a bit. And just kind of feeling a bit stuck in my 20s. And at that point we had moved to North Carolina. Like, I moved to North Carolina as a teenager. So, and it was a kind of a difficult place to be in the 90s. I mean, I feel like unless you were in a big city, it was really hard to break out and do anything. So, these were, obviously before the internet, and if there just wasn't the accessibility for someone like me, who really didn't really have much of a skill set except for singing and writing, and I couldn't really find anyone to work with where I was. So got fed up, drove down to Miami for Winter Music Conference, met Maf. And we were kind of just immediately sort of kindred, and both just sort of in the same place musically and creatively. And we got married a year and a half after that. And moved
look
to
at
Wales.
his face.
Yeah, and we were in Dynamo Dresden together, which was kind of
because Maf, you were running a label at the time, weren't you?
Yeah, we were running a label in the UK called Plastic Ray Gun, and we did well. It was mainly dance floor kind of breakbeat off the, I suppose, in that wave of 90s big beat, like the Chemical Brothers and Prodigy and Fatboy Slim, etc. And we had a bunch of artists, released a lot of vinyl, mainly dance floor 12 inches, and had a little bit of chart success with one of our artists, Jean-Jacques Smoothie, and did Top of the Pops and so forth. It was great, had a lot of fun. And then I was doing a kind of weird, I suppose, electronic act myself, called Captain Spec X-Ray, which probably is still searchable on the internet. For some of the bits and pieces, and I started working with Rohan, Tara, and we were trying to work out what we were doing, and we were working with a bunch of singers that weren't really working out, and then of course bumped into Tara, and not only could she sing, she could write amazingly. So we started a three-piece sort of, I suppose it was you would call it down tempo electronica.
Yeah.
In the vein of, I suppose, like Groove Armada or the French band Air, or that kind of stuff, and or Bent, or whatever, all those kind of really awesome British sort of acts, and well, apart from Air, of course, and
Avalanches was a big influence too, I think, at some point.
Who?
Avalanches.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Australia, yeah, absolutely amazing. So yeah, I mean that kind of stuff, and we, it did great. Had a lot of fun doing that. But to me, it became very evident as we went along that though I think, I've written some good songs and done well, with music and all the rest of it. It's very plain that me adding stuff to what Tara was doing in music wasn't making it better. It was just adding my opinion to it, and it's like I always use this analogy: is if you took like the greatest song ever written, I don't know, whatever that is in your mind, Crosstown Traffic, Yesterday, whatever, and you then did your version of it, it ain't going to be better than Hendrix or the Beatles or whatever, because you're just adding your stuff to it. You're not making your adding isn't plus. Your adding is just something different. So as it went on, it was just clear it was best to support Tara, is in the musically as best I can, and just let her go off and do her crazy shit, which is way, way better. So yeah, I mean, and I've always been a visual person rather than music. I literally I joke about this, but it's kind of true. I mean, I started a record label because I wanted to shoot pop videos. Right. And I couldn't shoot pop videos because I didn't have any records to shoot pop videos for. And I wanted to design record sleeves, and I wanted to make videos. And the only way of doing that was to create a record label, so I could then insist, because I ran the record label, that I would do that stuff, which is pretty much true. And then Tara breaking off to do the music at that time, when she post Dynamo Dresden with her more solo stuff, I was allowed to be a bit more free and do all the video and design stuff.
Yeah.
And then I Speak Machine was just kind of coming back together, understanding where we both were, I think.
Yeah. So Tara, tell me, was Pilfershire Lane your first solo album?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that process, because I've made the big mistake of not bringing my little box set with Metal Terror in it, which I still haven't opened. I still haven't assembled. It's still there in its box, pristine.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell us about Pilfershire Lane, because that really was a beautiful album.
Thank you. Well, that was I had, for a long time I had loads of ideas that I didn't really know how to get out of myself, and I took a good year and just, learned. I think it was Logic Pro that I wrote all of that on, and figured out how to sketch out these ideas. And I just kind of got tired of working with producers and working with other people. I just wanted to just be alone and see what came out without any kind of influence, and see if it was any good, if what I was hearing in my head was going to hit oxygen in a good way too. So it's kind of locked myself away for a long time and programmed it, and also recorded. I used the Farfisa that I've got. Whoops, wrong way. No, wrong way.
Oh yeah, there is.
This was the first piece of gear I ever had for Pilfershire. The official first piece of gear I had was a Korg M1, but anyway. So this, and I also got a Pro 1. So that album was actually mostly written on the Farfisa though, and then programmed everything else, and then brought musicians in to play it, and that was in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
And it was really fun because, like, it really was kind of purely me seeing what would happen with my own ideas and with songs that had been brewing for quite a long time, which is quite similar to War as well. because War is also a good 10 years worth of songs in a way. So I'm not sure that's right. Yeah, I think it is right. So anyhow, yeah, but Pilfisher was just I guess just me wanting to do shit on my own, and but having to learn it because I am not a very I'm not a prodigy on any instrument. I am a singer basically, and I mean I can block stuff out on a piano. I am not a guitar player. I'm terrible. So I've tried so many times, but I was never confident enough in my ability as a musician on the piano to be able to, go off solo and just like Tori Amos. I'm not like that. So, I just always felt a huge lack of confidence in that department, because I think growing up when I did, you had to have a band and had to have all of these things around you and all of this support and fronting a band and playing with other people. And it took me a long time to accept that it doesn't have to be that way, that you can do it yourself. And also, let's admit, being a woman, it's a lot more difficult to do it that way too. And then there's that whole element of going 360 from having loads of, all men that were producers that I worked with, and having to prove that, I don't need you, I can do everything myself, and having that pressure. And then being able to leave that pressure behind and be able to work with men again. Right, it's like a lot of a lot of redirects going on with this album. But to answer your question, that's what it was like to make Pilfisher. That was the first phase, was me just kind of being like, all right, I can do it all myself. So and that was
an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing that, as Tara's talking about the working with producers. It was weird early on, and still with I Speak Machine. Everybody assumed that I was creating all the music and Tara was just singing some stuff. And I mean, even when we went into studios with producers, it was literally, I remember being in a studio with a producer. I won't mention him; he's a lovely guy, but Tara had created. It was an EP, I think. And she had written literally not only all the songs, literally written every single note for every single instrument, and played every single note for every single instrument on those three tracks. And we were sitting there behind him mastering, I think mixing and mastering stuff. And he would look, do something and then turn around to me and say, "How does that sound?" And I'd be like, "I'm great, but why are you asking me? I had nothing to do with this." And it took like a day of me saying, "Look, you've got to ask her. She's the person that wrote and did everything here. I'm just, holding a handbag." It's like, seriously, it's just and I think some people just can't get in their brain that certainly at that point anyway, that a woman can come in and do that. It's really odd, and I think as people like us, men of a certain age, we probably all think we're, pretty down with the kids. But I think often just through growing up in the 70s and 80s, we're probably not as down with the kids as we think we are. So it was just amazing from the outside. It was amazing to see that happen, and Tara have to fight literally 10 times harder than I ever did. To be taken seriously. I mean, I was a pretty average writer and musician. I mean, average is really pushing it. And I got taken seriously very, very quickly by people.
It's by default, it's not the default for me to be taken seriously. No fucking way. So especially if you're known as a front person or a singer, and what's interesting now is that I've gone back to doing that. I'm like literally doing this European tour, just singing with a backing track. And I'm so scared to do that at first. And now it's like, I am just kind of hoping to create my own impression and slipstream, if you will, with it, and not have to worry about impressions. And maybe that's also part of being 48. So, but I have a different amount of confidence now, and also a very, very big dose of I don't give a fuck. So, and I have a lot more fun singing than I do playing instruments. So,
yeah,
not just do that. I already did all of the work here.
So I remember Maf, you told me that story not that long ago, actually, about that incident where with the producer, and I was just like, oh man, that's got to suck. But even yourself, Tara. I mean, I've seen you. Obviously, we interact on social media and stuff, and you go into a lot of the social media synthesizer groups, and there is just this unbelievable amount of, well, I don't know what to call it really. I mean, it's just complete arseholery. That so many people, so many men, let's get this right, so many men cannot handle the fact that there's a female in the industry who is completely and utterly capable, probably 10 times more capable than they are, and yet they still have to talk down to you, even if they don't even know you. I mean, I know that's kind of an inherent part of social media, that keyboard warriors but how is it? I mean, when Ben started the ProSynth network, it was partly started as a reaction to that kind of behavior. Not just that, but there was lots of other negative aspects that were coming out of this group. But when Ben was talking to me about it, I said, we've got to make this place inclusive as possible for every individual, whatever gender or race or religion or whatever, because that's not what this is about. It's all about electronic music and technology, and we don't care who is what, and we really don't. We want to make this place completely attractive to everyone, and we didn't want that kind of stuff going on. But tell us, from your perspective as a woman in this industry who has had a really good degree of success. I mean, you're out touring with Gary bloody Numan, for Christ's sake. That you don't get many more sort of finer accolades in the world of electronic music. How bad is it, and what can we do to counter it?
Wow, that's a very good question. I mean, I find it kind of exhausting to where I don't really follow synth groups anymore, except for yours, because it's still a tremendous default that it's just men posting these shitty memes about their wives getting pissed off at them for buying synths. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, It's like, so
it's so unoriginal as well.
And it's for me, it's gotten to where I don't know what you can do about it other than just do what you're doing, and be true to that, and delete the stupid fucking memes. But and those things are going to exist no matter what. And they suck. They do suck. Yeah. I don't follow them. I don't know any women that do. Perhaps there are some women that think that's funny. I don't. I'm sick of it. But, it doesn't further my cause as a human, whatever that may be. I have a really limited amount of energy that I like to spend on things like that, if any at all.
It drags you down, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's draining, it's exhausting, and it's quite simply I've just sort of better things to spend my time on, and I have to look after myself.
Yeah.
I can't spend my time getting upset about things that I can control.
Yeah.
Look at it, or if I just let it go, because I've never had any success in changing anything like that. I know it's, I'm not really saying, just, give up and let it be. It sucks. And if I'm asked about it, I'm certainly going to say how much I hate it and how much how ignorant it is, and how I wish that was not the default of things like that. Yeah. And even right down to something like the Taylor Swift and Damon Albarn thing. It's still is rampant as hell. They assume that someone like, because she's a huge pop star, she doesn't write anything, even though if you took a second to look at her liner notes or and research anything she does, you would know that she writes her own shit. And that shouldn't matter. You shouldn't have to say anything like that. But I don't know if that will ever be the default, but you are fighting. I don't know if I want to fight that. I work, and it's just kind of like as a middle-aged person that has a lot of shit to do, I don't think I've got time to fight it. You know.
And maybe you fight it just by doing what you do and doing it as well as you do, and popping the middle finger and just say, I'm not going to waste my energy on that. I'm going to focus all of that on my creativity and my art, and that's how I'm going to answer you guys.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just like doing instead of talking, and that's also the sort of I don't know. I guess the internet for me seems to show just a lot of talk and a lot of people hiding and faking it or whatever. But getting on with it, I think, is, like you said, is the kind of key to it. All right, I'll just put out a fucking record.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hide behind your fucking sense. I don't care.
Yeah, no, thanks. I mean, I really appreciate you sort of putting that into words, because it's kind of tough for those of us who are on the male side of the spectrum to kind of convince our peers as much as we do try, and I think it's more powerful coming from yourself, and I think your attitude's like bang on. So
it's
more
really uncomfortable for people, I guess. And, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's move on from that, and let's kind of. I'm going to embarrass you now, because I mentioned earlier on I didn't bring up my box set of Pilfershire Lane, which I still say proudly. I think it's number 42 of however many. But here's a picture of young Tara here, with this wonderful box set. I just wanted to mention. I mean, it's a spectacular thing, and this really speaks to what you were saying, Maf, earlier about being the kind of the creative, the visual aspect of it, and putting together. I know this was a team effort, but I know that Maf, you were quite passionate about the metal pop-ups and the little sampler that comes in there and all that thing. I mean, is that you've not done anything like that since? Is that something you still want to kind of do?
Yeah, on the design side, anyway. We were able to do that because we worked with a record label called Tummy Touch, run by Tim Lee. Who's an amazing human and person in the music industry as well. I mean, those are the guys that signed Groove Armada and a bunch of other amazing. Probably remember more of the amazing acts they had. So it was great to be with that record label. And it was their idea. It was Tim's idea to have the box set, and he had just done a box set with Tiff McGuinness, who was an artist at the time called Crazy Girl, who I was a massive fan of, and Tara's a massive fan of. Yeah, and that was a friend. She goes under the name Grand Dame, so if anyone wants to check her out on social media, she's amazing. And she had done a box set which we really loved, and then Tim came to us and said, hey guys, do you want to do, it's basically, this is a box, here's your budget, fill it with anything you want. And that's like a red rag to a very crazy saying, hey, here's some money, do what you want with it. So I had seen some people playing with pop-up aluminum sort of sheets, and I thought it'd be really great to make a stage set, literally that people could pop up, and then one that actually worked. So I designed this. I think it's 7 by 7 inch sheet that was attached to a sampler, and there was a little. There you go. You can see it there. A little Tara and synth and microphone and things that all popped up, and there was a little digital sampler similar to the ones that you get in a birthday card. Yeah. But one that you could actually record on. Took me ages to try and find those, and so you can literally, press the button, record yourself singing and replay it through there, etc. So
because that's like a
plates of, you could switch out the synth too.
Yeah. You had a bunch of synths you could switch out.
You had like an ARP and a Korg, didn't you, and everything in there, all the metal.
I remember. But that was it. So I mean, it was a lot of fun to do. It was really ambitious, and it was amazing that we ended up being able to do it. And then we the other thing we did is we shot a 16 millimeter video for one of Tara's songs, and what we did is we cut up that 16 millimeter film. You can see it there, and everybody who had the 100, everybody had 100th of that in the 100 box sets. So everybody's got a 100th of the film. So the idea was eventually, I think probably we'll be dead before people do this. But
well, do you remember? I set up a Facebook group called the Pilfershire Lane 100.
Yes, I do.
And I think we got about 42.
So it was like almost half the film possible.
There's a couple on eBay.
Really?
Every now and again they pop up, and I think I think I'd like to buy them, to be honest. We've only got one.
Yeah.
I've got the demo one, not the demo, the kind of like
mock-up sort of.
Mock-up, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Prototype.
I've got the mock-up one, and I've got 001, and that's it. Cool. And then we did some Polaroid pics, and and it was a nice. It was a nice. I was really proud of that. I thought.
Yeah.
Of course, Tara's album was all designed around. Her album was amazing. I love that album. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on. The next thing that you guys did was I Speak Machine, and this, as you said earlier on, this was short films and music for those short films, but developed together, literally, because I interviewed you for Sounds magazine some years ago. We did that whole thing backstage, didn't we, at the Numan gig? And you were telling me that it wasn't like one of you came up with an idea and then you kind of went off and did your things. Everything was done together from the very outset, so that you had this concept of a film and a story and the music, and it was all literally started together.
In real time.
Yeah.
And so that nothing would be an afterthought. The music, because typically something is filmed and edited, and then you get the film to score. But in this way, it was either like with Zombies 1985 when we shot it. There was in the UK that we wound up not using the UK version. We wound up shooting it in the US as well. But the first version, me and Ben collaborated on the score, and we began writing the score on set. So that sort of thing, it'd kind of bring like if I were to show up during filming, I'd kind of bring something with me and try to sketch out some ideas, and Maf would give me the script, and I'd write off of the script, which I know a lot of composers who do that too, but writing off of the script and stuff. But we did a lot of that as well. We really tried to keep each other, in the creative process throughout each phase, instead of one of us going too far along for the next has. We were all trying to contribute at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the music was always an influence on the way scenes were written, so that the pace and the feel. So if I wrote up a sketch of a scene, and Tara would come along and put some music to it, and then I'd be like, oh, that feels really kind of weird like that. Maybe if we slowed the whole pace of it down and did this or that. We wanted to sort of work off each other. And I will say in the first suit, which, because this is a synth podcast, in the first we did in the UK, was at Benji's house in
Cornwall.
That's it.
Yeah.
So there was Tara and Benj were messing around with an ARC 2500 in the background. So it was hell of a beast of a machine to have to be able to do some work on while we were filming.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was the DMX and the ARP that does it. Yeah, he had a sequence on the ARP and the DMX, and I actually wrote the melody, do 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 do, and he had this giant white baby grand piano as well. So he has this like piano, and then all these just fantastic synths around it. And it was when he had first moved in there, so we were just kind of jamming in the corner.
So what was the first ISM? Was that the Silence? Was that the first one?
Yes.
Because that's creepy as fuck. If you don't mind me, I remember. I think the first time I saw that was when you did that gig with Cuts at the Elizabeth Hall.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah, but that whole thing. I mean, that was just. I think that was the first time I'd seen ISM live and really got that whole kind of experience, because it's essentially, Maf, you set up a projection screen and point the projector at it and press play, and then Tara, in the good old fashioned cinema style way of the non-talkies, you play along and sing along and give that soundtrack live as the film is playing.
Yeah, no, that's it. And then the key thing about the live thing is the films were made to have a lot of space in them for the music. It wasn't, for instance, if it was a half hour, like I think The Silence is about maybe 35 minutes, I'm not sure, something like that. For live, that's how it's edited. There's a lot more space in the scenes for the music to take hold, so that your focus at some point is on the music and not really on the screen. And then at other points, the music is supporting, and what's on the screen is the most important thing. If that was edited down for people to say watch at home on their screens, it probably would be a 15-minute short film.
Yeah.
So when Tara performed those live, it was all about making the space for her to come through and the music to come through as the key element at certain points, and then other points it would be the music. Yeah,
because Tara, you were using some pretty cool gear. I seem to remember you that particular gig. I think you'd borrowed Dave's Oscar. I was going to call it the Imposca, but Dave's Oscar. The Korgs. You had all sorts. I mean, it was. Tell us a bit about that kind of live rig that we're using to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was. Well, it's a little unpredictable. I've done a few old school analog gigs. I did a few here in LA too. But that one, I want to say, we had a 2600, a Pro One, an Odyssey, SK1. No, SK1. No. 101.
Yeah,
and,
SH101. Yeah.
And the Oscar.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm missing one. I can't remember, but it was just huge, and it was just almost like having to, choreograph it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it wasn't anything that was hard to play, but it was just, I really wanted to. It was like having, it's like each synth represented a band member. Like the 101 was the singer, the Pro One was the guitar player, and let's see, who would have been actually, I think the Pro One I did most of the bass on. And in with playing with a kind of stripped down backing track as well.
Yeah.
I played along with that, but I took a lot of the synths out, and which was a little bit nerve wracking because I didn't know how the mix would be. But and then I did sing a fair bit, and there were some like with the films, there's also songs that are written for like the titles or just inspired by the films, because I still really wanted to get some songwriting in as well as the scores. And so there were a few songs that were performed as well with that. So it was pretty intense. And because I remember the SH10, the 101 had this weird tuning thing with it. I think it had, and Kent probably can correct me here. I think I'm probably wrong, but there's something with the tuning with the volume. If I'm thinking of the right synth, if I'm even, I don't know. It would get knocked out of tune.
Well,
The power switch.
Kent was saying about this last night. We were chatting last night. You talked about the power switch, weren't you?
Yeah, I've got one here with exactly the same problem. Yeah, just if you tap the power switch or you hit the case and it was not disturbing the power switch and you go.
Yeah. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Time for you to do this.
Yeah. and your solution for it, Kent, rather than dismantling like you did on the first occasion, you had a much easier solution.
Yeah, just get the WD-40 down it under pressure.
Magic juice.
Turn it on about 20 times in a row, and it's cured.
Yeah.
It was a trip. I did a gig here a couple of years ago. That was just I brought my 2-voice and my Voyager and my MS-20 and did and I don't remember what else was there. And did War Pigs and a couple of covers and and my 808 as well. So the 808 had a fucked up start stop, and I was like, "Is it gonna work?" Yay, it worked. And then there was my 2-voice tuning completely shot itself on stage and just went and like the sequencer just completely fell out of tune. And I was like, oh my god. And I had a friend that came to see it, and he was just like, well, you're up there with a bunch of analog gear. People think it's supposed to do that. It's about as close as you can get to having sentient machines up there.
Yeah, quite. Jason in the chat was asking, how flexible can the live set be with the visuals? Can you give Maf palpitations with unscripted changes and encores? So I guess, are you sticking very rigidly to, because you said you use like a backing track in there as well, so are you pretty rigid, or can you mess around a little bit?
Do you mean with the films?
Yeah, with the films, God,
no. I wouldn't deviate in a way. I mean, if it was something with the film itself, I would, maybe do, use my judgment and do something kind of that. If it were vocally, maybe I would do that, but not with I probably wouldn't add anything synth-wise, or I'd probably want to just stick with how I rehearsed it.
Yeah.
I've got my nerves to look after.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah, well, I want to skip ahead now because I want to talk about the new stuff, because the new stuff is incredible, and I want everybody to hear this. Before we sort of get into the detail, first of all, let me just tell everyone you can go and pre-order this now. It comes out on a week today. It's on CD, digital download. There's even a double red vinyl, which I have ordered. Cannot wait for that one to arrive and go in the collection with the rest of the stuff. But it's all available to pre-order on Bandcamp. So ispeakmachine.bandcamp.com is where you go to find all of that. And there are, I think, 4 tracks available at the moment. And the videos are up on YouTube as well. Let's actually, we mentioned those videos, let's just play the beginning of the opening, the first single that came off the album, which is The Metal of My Hell. Let's have a quick look at this. So excuse the abrupt stop there. The system doesn't allow me to fade this stuff out. So yeah, I apologise for that. And I could have listened to. I love that song and I love the video. It suits. Yeah, I mean, it's I Speak Machine. Of course, it's going to work. So tell us, War. Tell us about the album. Tell us about what inspired you to make it. What did you use to make it? What in the studio? Give us a rundown of the history of this album.
Doggy's misbehaving. Well, it was gosh. So what inspired it, I think, was probably I guess like the past 10 years I was dealing with alcohol dependency, a bit of mental illness in the form of panic attacks and disassociation, that sort of thing. And it was something that I really, I guess the word catharsis comes to mind. And I wanted to do another artist album for quite a long time. So just kind of slowly chiseled away at it and put it down, picked it up again. Different projects came and would sort of put it on hold for a bit, COVID. And then I brought in Dean, kind of like a lot of the stuff was already written by the time he came in. And but then I passed it over to him and everything, with the drums and stuff that he had added. And I really wanted to take it from being a collection of sketches and songs and stuff that I had left behind and picked up to really kind of something cohesive. And the more I worked on it, the more it just kind of helped me recongeal as a human as well, because I was through a lot of shit. And as we know, I think creating and music and if you're someone that has to write and has to make noise and has to release things, I think the only way to do it is to make a record. So I think it was just that I had, a lot of personal stuff to calibrate. I think a lot of it maybe had to do with getting a bit older and going through a lot of different versions of myself. Musically, and I felt like this is kind of where I was. I wanted to come back to being a performer and a singer as well. So and doing something more fun, more aggressive, more celebratory, maybe even more grateful. But I really had a desire to just get up and scream and play loudly, and I missed performing, being just singing,
Yeah.
I just felt like something was missing, and it was this. So
yeah, it does sound very much like an album that is meant to be played live more than anything else. I think that was the first thing when I heard that single, it was like I could just see you on stage doing this. It was very much a live record. Is that how it kind of came together in the studio?
It wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I think it was. I didn't really think about. I thought I would definitely want to share it and perform it. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I knew I wouldn't be able to have access to a band, nor would I necessarily want to have one. I didn't want to get chained into that old school pattern of thought where you have to have a band to be taken seriously. I think it's absolutely fine to get up with playback. A lot of people I love do it, like Gazelle Twin and Billy No Mates and Sleaford Mods.
You love Billy No Mates.
She's fucking amazing. And I think she and Gazelle Twin, those three artists, her and Sleaford Mods and Gazelle Twin, like, they
just laptop and the voice.
Let me try it. So, and it just is kind of about having confidence in your ability as a performer and a singer, and not caring, not giving a shit and just getting up. I think that authenticity really comes out, and just kind of getting on with it,
Yeah.
So yeah, I really wanted to do them live, especially the Metal of My Hell. I really wanted to get up and play that, and I think that I was kind of starting to go down the rabbit hole of old bands I used to listen to in the 90s as well, and how I used to perform when I was younger, which is a lot like how I do now, which is jumping around like a complete maniac and screaming my head off. I probably scream a lot more now. But yeah, it was just sort of some very unexpected influences, like I don't know, like I didn't think I would take on Judy Garland and Doris Day and Jim Morrison and Mike Patton, of all things. This was like, I used to be a massive Faith No More fan back in the day. So it just was like, but that kind of bizarre vocal range, and just really focusing on being a singer and a performer and not worrying so much about anything, just kind of seeing what I do naturally and having some confidence in that. And I think, I think being middle-aged and being a woman kind of gives me a little bit of ammo to do that too. Just kind of get up there and throw it, you know?
Yeah. So tell us about what you used on this album, because we've got a bunch of synth nerds, sat here and also in the chat room. So we want to know, what you were using, what stood out for you.
What stood out? Well, what I'm really proud of, that was a bit of an accident. I mean, you guys all know this one, right? Yeah. So I was messing around one day with the external signal processor and wound up coming up with a really interesting bass line, because I'm sure you know this, but if you put it at the lowest octave, I would say 32, and I sang through it, and my voice turned into this really, really disgusting, luscious bass sound, and that was what ruined me. And luckily, I think Maf could hear it happening downstairs and came up and filmed me doing it, but I can't find the phone at the moment. Like, oh my God, what are you doing? So he does that a lot. If I'm doing something up here, he'll just kind of bust in and film me doing it. But there's that. So I'm was really excited about that. And when I gave it to Dean, he was like, "What? How did you do that? That's horrible, but great." And so it's really good. And there was that. I used the Polyvox a lot.
Okay.
If you guys want a little,
yeah,
you know what a Polyvox is, but that's her.
There you go.
And that was I think I want to say that was used a lot on Bloodletting, which is a cover that came about from another film score I did, that film called Jacob's Wife, which was a different director, but that came about from that. Let's see, Farfisa was used a lot. I don't have it in the studio right now because it's being repaired, but the ARP 2600 was used a ton as well. That was used on a song called Left for Dead. And then there's one song called Until I Kill the Beast, which is the last song on the record, which is kind of like a delicate lullaby about overcoming addiction. And that was added really at the last minute, and I felt like the whole album was so thick and dense, you know. You really wanted to add something that was like really quite delicate, I suppose, and simple. It just is, one voice with which kind of eventually drops in some backing vocals, but I just wanted it to be reassuring and beautiful at the end. And that was the ARP 2600 and the 1613 sequencer, which is also in repair. I did not have the System 100 by the time Maf came across this and got it a few months ago, so I didn't have it at that point. Otherwise, it would have been all over it. But Pro 1 is on it. I feel like I'm missing something really obvious.
The 808.
Oh, yes, the 808's downstairs.
Okay.
I've got it here.
Oh, hang on. Let's get Maf on screen. There we go. Look at that. Careful, steady.
Nicely repaired.
Nice.
Yeah, Nick Montoya. If any of you guys are on the west coast of America, he is the man.
There you go.
So,
lovely.
And yes, and also my Farfisa Synth Orchestra, which is kind of rare. You don't really see a lot of these. But it's a really great. I think Goblin and Dario Argento films feature that a lot.
Okay.
In the kind of horror genre. And a bit of toy piano, and then there's a piano in the garage that I used that's a really fucking knackered piano that we found on the side of the road that
Wow.
I used. I can't remember the song now. Damn it. Anyway, but oh yes, and of course did a lot of this Cazio that I think you guys, and that was how War was done. And there's a tune called Push the Grease that I did with Kendra Frost, who is with a band called Kite Bass and is now playing with Lone Lady. She's in the band. And Kendra is one of my best friends. She came over a few years ago when she was touring with 9 Inch Nails and had some downtime. And we wrote that tune together. And she had a Tempest that we ran through the cluster flux. And I don't know if any of you guys have this pedal, but it is just wonderful to run a drum machine, anything through it. But especially drums through that pedal is incredible. So,
nice.
But unfortunately, it's really going up in value crazily. So, grab one while you can.
Yeah. Now, when you play live, you're obviously not taking all of that stuff out. So what's your live rig? What's it been for the tour that you've just finished doing? What's the onstage rig?
Yeah, the one we just did was my Voyager, which I really just play along with the backing track, and did a tune from the Silence, but then and then most of the set was just me and backing track. But I also used a vocal pedal, which was this thing, which is a little bit cheesy actually, but it's cheesy but great. I used this and then ran this into this for some
Strymon,
on my vocal, but it's really not. I had a lot of trouble with the gain on it, so I'm not going to bring this out again for live. It's just not great for vocals. Live, it's too temperamental. And I brought my cluster flux with me with the Voyager and the cluster flux. For one part of the set, I did just me and the Voyager doing my Sound of Silence cover. Okay. So I thought that was kind of a nice way to contrast the fullness. You know, the rest of the set is just all so full sounding and banging. Yeah. And so I wanted to just like divert from that for a moment and just have a tune with me and the synth. And so there's that. I'm not going to be doing that in the EU though. This one's just going to be all just me.
Because you've just made a purchase, haven't you?
What did I buy?
The Akai.
Yeah, don't get mad at me, but guess what I did?
Go on, you took it back.
It's overkill.
Because you posted something a couple of days ago saying because you couldn't make your mind up between, was it the live and the one?
Live and the one. Yeah. And they're beautiful, but I don't need that just to run backing tracks. You know, it's an actual performance machine. Yeah. And I'm not going to be doing that up there. And then I figured, like, why would I? Okay, I know I'm going to bring it back up anyway. I'm going to bring my laptop. I'm going to have Ableton on me. I'm going to bring my controller. And then I'll have to bring something else too. Why don't I just do Ableton? I don't want to have to bring a bunch of stuff because we're very, very limited in what we can bring anyway. Yeah. So I just thought, maybe I'll do it at some other time. And maybe the time I decide they'll come out with something else.
yeah, absolutely. Let's have
it's kind of a weird way out, but
let's have a quick look at you playing live. This is from Cat's Cradle. Whereabouts was that place?
North Carolina.
There you go. So this is the title track from the album, live on stage supporting Gary Numan last month, I believe. Here we go. And I apologise for the cut short again because they can't fade those out. But that's brilliant. I cannot. Please bring it to the UK. I know you will try to, but we desperately want to see that over here. So, I mean, the full vocal thing. I mean, you're known for your vocal range. It's still there, isn't it? It's still quite a thing.
Yeah. I have to really take care of it. It's yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, but if you're doing 35 shows very close together, a lot of it is Maf and I texting each other, thumbs up, thumbs down. And it's hard for me to be quiet, as you may have noticed.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's but fortunately, I've always tried to take good care of myself, and singers in particular have to be aware of that. But
yeah,
it doesn't always quite work out that way.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about. So tell us a bit about Dean and your work with Dean Honer, because Dean Honer obviously part of iMonster, and he's produced people like Human League and all sorts of. I mean, he's a great individual, but he's based in Sheffield. You're based in LA. So how did all of that work? Were you just like emailing bits and bobs backwards and forwards? Were you doing lots of, was there lots of Zoom calls and that kind of stuff? How did that whole thing?
No, I mean, we wanted to work together for quite a long time, and I've done some vocal contributions with iMonster. Did a tune on Bright Sparks.
Yeah.
I think we first met at the Tramlines Festival in 2009, and we're just kind of mutual admirers of each other's work. And with this record, I just was kind of like, I had always loved the way that he programmed drums, and always loved the way his stuff just in general always sounded so good, And he's so it was kind of like, well, I wonder how he'd feel about being a co-producer, since everything was already written. It wasn't co-writing, it was just producing. But I felt like it just really needed that extra element to it. It just needed another perspective from him, and I just felt like he'd be perfect for it. So he was really into it, and luckily he's not, we didn't really have to talk very much. We just got on with it and did it, and he's really fast. Doesn't deliberate over stuff. He just does stuff, because that's a part of his skill set, is he just makes the right choices.
Yeah.
So I just send him an idea and throw it back to me and be like, holy shit, that's amazing. Like, there's a tune on there called Rats Rise, and the end, it was like, the way I did it, it was the same drum part the whole way through, which was kind of like a Suicide Ghost Rider kind of thing. And then he added this ending that was like a very, very different, quite a different rhythm. And it was quite a change. And when I first heard it, I was like, I don't know. And then I listened again, and it's like one of those things where it doesn't quite hit you at first, and then it's like, oh shit, that's a fucking great idea. Yeah. So, he's just like, well, just listen to this, see if you like this. It's not like this whole, like, I don't know. There's other producers I've worked with in the past that are just like, it's a battlefield the whole fucking time. It's like, and really it was just nice to, I think most of our communications were just, we transfer files.
Right. Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of dialogue. We just have some weird kind of telepathy with it. It's good. So it was really great. He's great to work with,
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
So what's coming up? So you've just finished supporting Gary Numan on the American leg of his tour. Some of those gigs got postponed because there was a small COVID outbreak within the group. But you've rescheduled those, yeah?
Yeah, for September.
Excellent.
In a way, it's kind of good. It sort of, lets us duck our heads up again and be like, "Hey, we're back!"
Yeah.
And plus, I was really, really gutted because the first show to get canceled was Minneapolis.
Yeah. First album.
Avenue. I was like,
Well-
not that one.
But you've got it rescheduled. That one's in September, isn't it? The September 20
Yes.
something, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So that'll be cool.
It's
That'll
the
be cool.
1st of September through the 11th. So
Nice.
yeah, and then the EU.
Yeah. So tell us about the EU. So that starts in May.
Yeah, May 24th in
Okay.
Dublin. So you can always come to Dublin.
Yeah. Could do.
But yeah, the band who's got on is really, really good. They're called Divine Shade, I think. They're a French 3-piece. So from what I've heard, they're really good. So
And then, are you actively trying to get gigs? Are you actively trying to get gigs in the UK? Maybe as
yeah,
as the headline.
I'll tell you, it's really, really, really hard right now because everybody is wanting to play now.
Yes.
So hard to get gigs. I mean, over here, it's just like, we're booked until September 2023. It's,
Wow.
damn. So it's we even have a few UK bookers that we might sign with over there, but it's like, they're really struggling to get gigs, enough gigs for everybody. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah. We were talking last night, Kent, weren't we, with Grace, who's a sound engineer, live sound engineer, and she was saying exactly the same, that it was all, everybody just wants to play, and so there's no gear to hire, there's no, things can't get fixed if they need fixing. It's like everybody just wants to get back out there. So I guess that's going to happen. But it's great to see you actually, out there live on the road and doing this. And the album comes out next Friday, April 22nd. You can pre-order it now or buy it afterwards at ispeakmachine.bandcamp.com. And there's the CD. Look at that.
there it is. Open it up.
Yeah, show it. Come on, show inside. Oh, very nice. Tell us about the look, because you've got the whole. It's very nice. You got the whole set of crowns and stuff.
Yeah, it kind of happened by accident because we were. I think it sort of stemmed from the War Pigs video and the hat, the crown that you can see. Map, say something so it'll pop back up. The white, yeah. So
Show the crown.
All
to
right.
match the white, yeah. So there's the branches. Map
Yeah,
made
yeah.
those. So
It's like that's a prop. The whole thing. I recognise every single thing. The Polaroid camera, the Super 8, the helmet with the microphone.
yeah.
It's like it's a history lesson in I Speak Machine.
But yeah, so Map goes. He just like
That's one from the Santa Monica video.
Oh yes, yeah. That's a great video, by the way.
it was a lot of fun. It was really fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Who's the little girl in that? Is she a friend?
Yes.
Because you two have a nasty habit of roping in your friends' children into your video, because you had like all the Numan kids, didn't you?
And
I mean, Gary and Gemma were very kind for us to let us have their kids for that video,
not very.
and
Yeah.
we needed someone really kind of like the Santa Monica video was kind of a significant homage to a scene from the excuse me, David Lynch film Magnolia, and
Mulholland Drive.
and
Mulholland Drive. Map.
Sorry,
Mulholland Drive, not Magnolia.
did I say Magnolia? Weird.
It begins with a M.
Another one of my favorites. It's the M's. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. It took me a
Mulholland Drive, of course. I'm sorry, gosh.
Okay.
Any of my film buff friends.
We won't judge you. We won't judge you.
Yeah. So there's.
We know what you meant.
Yeah. Thank you. There's a scene with Naomi Watts in it, and basically we needed someone to be Naomi Watts, and it's very, just this purely, really kind of innocent person who is emotional because of the performance, and I just racking my brains, and my buddies Sam and Bridget, who are friends here in LA, have a daughter Ayla who's a budding actress who's just really cool, really fun kid, and
actually
also
looks
looks
a lot like Naomi Watts.
Yeah, she basically looks like Watts. It's like, okay, we could do
It's
it.
like, holy crap, she looks like
We could have a kid there because, of course, you know, we want someone amazingly innocent. And yeah, they were like, yeah, sure. And she was amazing. I mean, she literally. If you see the video, it's worth watching. I mean, I apologize for this. It's worth watching just for her because her performance was absolutely astonishing. And she was so good. And I'm as a director, it's kind of frightening working with kids because with an adult actor, you can say what you want. You know, you have a limited amount of time, limited amount of budget, and you've got to get shit done, and everybody understands it. But with a 10-year-old kid, of course, you can't just be like, just do it again, shut up, move on, you know, blah blah blah. You've got to be nice, and that's hard for me. So luckily she was just amazing. She absolutely, totally professional. As professional as any of the adults I've ever worked with. Amazing. Really great. We also used Esme as well, which is one of my favorite short films we did called I See Me, which is with Gareth, my buddy Gareth, who's an actor who was in The Silence.
Yes.
And he and his daughter was in that film as well. I just find I talked to Gary about this, which is interesting. Both of us have a similar fear of like young children ghosts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really, really creepy about a child ghost.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about getting up because he lives in LA. He has a big kind of gothic mansion. Of course he does.
Of course.
And at the time, anyway, when we first met him, we were at his house, and I was talking to him about his kids being in our movie, and I was just like, you know, kids are just creepier. Like a child zombie is creepier than an adult zombie.
Yeah.
It's just all creepier.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you want to live with 3 young girls because I get up in the middle of the night to go for a pee, and there's just one of them standing at the top of the stairs, just staring. And he's like, I just like, fuck it, I'll just go away. It's creepy as fuck. So
Excellent.
It was quite funny how he's, you know, at the time anyway, he was kind of like pretty creeped out by his kids in the middle of the night, randomly standing on the staircase. So
Brilliant.
What are you doing?
We had a few questions come in from our audience, so I just want to get these in before we do wrap things up. So, Sentient in the chat room says, "Is Tara supporting Numan in Brussels?"
Yep.
And he's going, but you can't find any reference to support. So that's a confirmation you're playing in Brussels. There you go. So go and say hi there. What else have we got here? This one. Britton Robbins says, I saw I Speak Machine in New York City, Webster Hall this year, immediately fell in love with the music. So some compliments there.
That was a beautiful venue.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What a venue.
In the snow, too. Hell of a drive.
Any dates on that tour stand out? Paul wants to know because he saw the tour that you've just done.
Yeah, sure. I think probably my personal 2 favorites were Chicago and Seattle. Mm-hmm. Seattle, especially, that was the second gig back after everybody was patched up from COVID, and Seattle was really special also because, like, as a 90s 20-year-old,
yeah,
it was always like my dream. Oh, I'll go play the Neptune, dude. Yeah. There it was, and that was kind of emotional. And Seattle's one of my favorite places in the universe. I absolutely love it. But there was some weird little level jump I felt for that gig, and it was also I absolutely blew my voice out too at the end. Like Maf filmed that one too, and you can actually pinpoint
the moment.
Bit where I'm shouting, and it's the song Ruined Me. I start to really go off in it, and my voice just totally was like, bye. Get up, girl.
Oh wow.
But
yeah,
it was a little unprofessional of me, but
the crowd in Seattle was really really something else. As you said, that was they turned it up a notch.
Mhm.
It was really
Yeah, there's a bit like in Chicago too. Chicago and Seattle, I had to stop myself from crying. I was so emotional with it. The crowd was so wonderful and grateful and like shouting and putting their hands up. I hadn't seen that in so long, and it was they were just ecstatic, and I was just like, "This is for me," you know. You know.
What's the response been like to your gig this time compared to when you did because you opened for Gary doing, I think it was Zombies 85, wasn't it? And I think, I was in the crowd. I'm a fan anyway. I loved it, but there were people that didn't quite get that as an opening act. It was unconventional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was I guess perhaps more niche, but a bit more it's just not as acceptable, I suppose, as an artist up there playing songs. It was a visual. It was more of a. I can't find the right word. Maf, how would you describe it? I mean, I keep wanting to say like just sort of a presentation of a film as well. It was a little bit more of a process to take it in. It was a little more unusual. We weren't a band.
Yeah, I mean, when
weren't quite a band, weren't quite a film. And it was like people kind of had to figure it out themselves in a way too, and they either liked it or they didn't. Perhaps.
Yeah, when people were coming to see Ice Pick Machine perform one of the films, then they knew what they were getting. When they were coming to see Gary Numan and someone turns up with a screen and they're watching a movie, it's a bit odd, I think. I mean, I think it's very brave of Gary to ask us to do that, because he's always wanting to mix up the stuff. He's very, still very innovative and very, very open to new things. So, I mean, I think it went, generally I thought it went down really well. I mean, we can tell because we sold shitloads of stuff at the gigs and had, thousands of new social media fans and all the rest of it. I do think this time it's working better because I think it's just, it's not as big a step for people to get into it. And also it's Tara performing the way she does the best, as opposed to from behind a bank of synths. She's out there performing, with a microphone in hand on stage, and I think that's better. So certainly for these circumstances,
that's what comes. I mean, I think it comes to me more. I mean, I know it does. It comes to me totally a lot more naturally just to be up there with a microphone, and I felt like I was always very, very nervous with the synths up there. I think I had to really struggle for a long time to not be with nerves up there. Whereas with this, I'm not nervous at all. I'm totally confident, but I just would have, I just felt like, I just felt like I had so much more to deal with the live scores, and the synths. And, it didn't feel as natural to me. It felt a bit uncomfortable, sometimes uncomfortable in a good way, sometimes not in a good way, and it was, sometimes you get to where you don't want variables on a big tour either, or it's just like, I just want to do what I'm really comfortable with and then go from there, so you want to have, the foundation was a bit more difficult before, so, but, with this also, I feel like it's a lot more fun.
You certainly look, I mean, I'm not saying you didn't look comfortable before, but you certainly look right in your element from what I've seen, and that's got to be a nice thing. Lady Aptitude in the chat room has just pointed out something quite interesting. I didn't know this. When she saw Bowie in '77, he showed a Buñuel Dali surrealist film as the opening act. So you're standing, in the same sort of arena as that. That's cool. To see Bowie in '77, wow.
Wow.
Amazing. There is a few other questions. Before we get to the last couple of questions, I just wanted to say thank you to the following people. To David Serchek for $4.99. Thank you for the drummer in all of us. Respect, brother. Wagyu, as always, been super generous. 10 Swiss francs there. and another 5 Swiss francs there. Thank you very much indeed for your contribution. And in typical British cash for questions style, Synth Addict has donated $5 and wants to know, have you got any stories regarding analog synths live with glitches, like the famous funny Jean-Michel Jarre concert clips? I mean, you spoke about, the tuning going on your Oberheim and the SH-101. It was. Has there ever been a standout moment where something's just gone completely arse about face?
Well, on this tour, actually.
Yeah.
So I talk about this fucking pedal. So what happened with this? On the Fonda show, so this is the first show of the whole tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so nervous because no one had ever heard this. No one had ever seen this. I think they saw the video for Metal, but it was still like, I'm going from being, having the live, just like how different this all is. So I didn't know how it was going to feel, what was going to happen. It was all, So we're up there. It's the first show. I'm already freaking out. And middle of the first song, my vocal pedal goes.
Oh, no.
So, and it starts, so I had to stop the set. Almost sold out show at the Fonda, which is a big classic LA venue, big theater. Had to stop the show, open up my pedal. Comes on stage. I am in full regalia up there. Like, hi everybody, my pedal just shot the bed. So come up and I'm sorry. I know the question was analog synths, but this is this is even worse. So this is a pedal that should know better. So open up the pedal, pull the batteries out. Folly 1. I was using batteries and not a power supply. So, but I had just changed the batteries that morning, so I was just like, why? This can't be the fucking batteries. But we took the batteries out, and there was water in our pedal.
No way.
I was just like, whoa. And we looked at each other like, oh my God. Batteries, towel, now. So we and luckily the crew at the Fonda is amazing. The guys came on and, just like operated on it, like emergency operation. And got on with it. And cool. I will tell you, that was one pissed off set I did.
Jimmy took batteries out of his torch, I think.
Wow. Superb.
Yeah, I just got the Oberheim going. Yeah. And by the end of the song, it was like sub-bass.
I know there's been gigs where we've taken a bunch of analog gear, and one of them is just, has been working in the studio for 3 years, and then take it out to a gig, get to the gig, and it's just not working at all.
Oh, yep, exactly.
Don't move this stuff.
That happened in LA once. I'm not sure which show that was.
It was, it's the Oberheim War Pigs. Right. Yeah.
A couple more before we round things off. So John Peck says, ISM absolutely kicked ass on a terrible winter night in Buffalo, New York. Instant fan. Loved seeing the Moog on stage. Carl Learmont says hi and has nothing but great things to say about Tara. There you go. And one last non-technical question here. So you might be familiar with the graphic that we created for this show, which is all Ben's work, because Ben does all of our graphics. And he took this image of you with blood-soaked hands. And Sasquatch in the chat room wants to know, what did you use for that? Because, me.
Cut me open. Actually, that was leftover blood from a zombie movie.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, I think weird, because something about the album in the first place just makes me think of blood. And, it's just that, I guess it's the sort of visceralness of it.
Yeah.
And just had this bottle of blood sitting there, and it was like, and the color looked so beautiful against the in the original photo. I'm actually standing in front of the System 100.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just kind of, that color really pops, doesn't it?
So it's genuine fake blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Or is-
like off the shelf from
Yeah,
one
or
of
is
the
it?
Hollywood effects.
Awesome stuff. Which, of course, is just around the corner. Yeah.
Seems like a motherfucker.
I got a quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
That System 100, is that recent eBay purchase?
Matt?
No, I think it was from Facebook, wasn't it?
I think a fella called Scott
Yeah.
F-O-R-E-Y-O-U-X. I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name.
Okay, right. It's an unusual combination because I had the exact same combination here that I was restoring. I was actually playing it on Christmas Day in the front room,
Well, but the
testing it
synth
all out.
there, they're just, I can't fit it all on that table.
Just when I was going, nah, that's not the same ones. Surely not.
No, where did Scott live? I can't remember.
New Orleans.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
New Orleans,
Unlikely then. Unlikely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the full. We've got the full set.
Yeah, it's weird because you always sometimes you get like the 01 keyboard,
Yeah,
and
we
the sequencer or the mixer or whatever, but hardly ever with the expander at the same time.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
lucky the expander and the speakers and everything came with it. So it was very, very.
Oh, we've been offered like a fair amount of cash for those speakers.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
Oh my God. Themselves.
Fuck off.
I've only ever seen one of those in the flesh being used, and that was Martin Wares, and he was again, that was at the Queen Elizabeth Hall, and he was he was doing the whole being boiled thing, and it just wasn't behaving at all, and it kind of lent to it in a certain way, but his tech was kind of rushing on and trying to get this thing to work. But yeah, they're wonderful machines. Look, I don't want to keep you guys because we're way over time, but thank you so much. I mean, it's just been an absolute joy just to see your faces again, but to talk with you and to hear all of the stuff about the new album, of course, which comes out April 22nd, a week today. It's available on Bandcamp. Let's just remind our viewers of that. So there you go, ispeakmachine.bandcamp.com. You can pre-order. It's $10 for the digital album, $15 for the CD, which we've just seen in all its glory. And there is. Have you still got vinyl available? Because I know that's cool.
That's on its way. We have a. We
Yeah.
have. Yeah, I mean it's vinyl, so it's such a nightmare. But yeah, it's we've heard very recently it's on its way.
Nice.
So yeah, well, there'll be enough.
Cool stuff. Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to getting my copy as soon as that wings its way across the Atlantic. And of course, there's a whole bunch of merch there as well. So t-shirts, long sleeve, short sleeve, all sorts of stuff there. Please go and avail yourself of all of those wonderful goodies.
All that amazing design of the albums and t-shirts was a guy called Matt Needle in Cardiff, actually, in the UK.
All right, excellent.
Amazing, really amazing designer. We love. He's done a lot of
That's all like horror film posters.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I found him.
Cool. Excellent stuff. And you've just reminded me, because I need to do this. So I'm just sort of filling here while I try and find. Here we go. Right, so let me just stop that screen and share this other one, because we've got merch too now. We've moved into the world of merch with great thanks to Viper Graphics, who do all the electromantic stuff for Ben, who's obviously not here tonight. So we now have t-shirts and hoodies with the ProSynth Network logo on. And they are reaching our customers. For example, this is Peter Toll with he's a local boy. He's in Norwich. He's got his hoodie, and I think Matt Evans had his t-shirts and hoodies, and there's Kent's self-portrait there. Got to get that one in. Oh
yeah.
Bless him. Oh, everyone likes an owl. There's more.
Do they?
More.
Now?
Yeah, there's more hoodie action there, and this is from Matt. T-shirts and hoodies, all there. So they do exist, and all you got to do is go to the Viper Graphics Facebook page and contact Andy there, and you can place your order. And he's just received his first international order from New York. Our good friend Michael Whalen has ordered one, and it's a very nice little segue there, because Michael Whalen is going to be our guest next week. He is going to be playing live this time next week, because all good albums seem to be coming out on April 22nd. His new album, Imaginary Trains, comes out, and he's doing a live gig at EMIAP in Philadelphia, and he will be joining our show live from EMIAP ahead of that gig, with this wonderful rig of amazing analog synthesizers, which will now include Keith Emerson's Moog modular, the actual Moog modular, along with DX1 CS80s. There's 2 or 3 mini Moogs in there. There's a Prophet 5. There's a CP70. There's a Hammond organ, and they've assembled this amazing rig for him. And he will be talking about his new album, and he's giving us a bit of a rig tour for the event. And if you want to watch the entire event, tickets are $10, available from Michael Whalen. If you find him on the Facebook group, and also from EMIAP as well. I think they're $10 a piece. So if you want a treat in the early hours of the UK time, so it's well beyond our time, please do buy tickets for that. So if you want to know more about that, join us next week. Hopefully Ben will be here, because I won't be. I'm going to be on the streets of Bury St Edmunds, queuing up to buy some vinyl, because it's record store day a week on Saturday, so that's what I'll be doing. So Ben hopefully will be feeling better and back doing his thing, because he did a fantastic, I need to say this, he did a fantastic job last week when I wasn't there. It's the first time he's actually run the show himself without any assistance, and he did a fantastic job. So all hats off and all credit to him. It's clearly affected him, because he's now laid up in bed on antibiotics. Who else have we got coming up? We've got people like Andrew Longhurst, who's got a big history in EMU, and he's got his own film and production company now. We've got Dan Goldstein from Cherry Audio later in May, who's promised to tell us about something very new and exciting that they've got coming out. We've got the great Jim Danica, who is the musical director and keyboard player for people like Amy Grant and Michael, is it Michael Smith? I can't remember the full name now, but he's a great guy, and he's done loads of main stage libraries himself, and he's about to go back out on tour soon. So loads of great people coming up, and I just want to say once again to Tara, to Maf, thank you ever so much for your time. We wish you all the best with the album. I hope it's the massive success that it deserves to be, because it's a cracking collection of music. So please, everyone that's in the chat, go and buy a copy. You will not regret it. No problem at all. Pleasure, and please come back, and tell us, about the European tour, and we'll certainly share stuff. And here comes Kent's supper. There he goes. Hello, Fiona.
Oh, said hi.
Hello.
What the hell is that? Oh. Is it supposed to be moving around like that?
And Kent, thank you.
What?
Thank you for joining. Thank you for your input.
I had no choice.
No, this is true.
You've already paid me.
Yes.
I was committed.
And now Kent's got his own little audience, because he's got the supper there, so they're all congregating behind
hello.
you.
Yes,
they're all there.
They're all here.
Thanks,
Excellent.
and thanks, Rob. And if we're over in the UK next year, we'll obviously come and see you, and maybe you and me can catch Cardiff and Norwich playing in the Championship as well.
Yeah, it's the way it's going to look like that. Yeah, I thought you'd get that in. Thank you. It's mathematically still possible for us to stay up.
I'm with you. I support Norwich.
Yeah. No, but seriously, you need to come around. We have a spare room. There's a double bed. If you want to base yourself here for a set of East Anglia gigs, I can put the word out and get you over here. Awesome. Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, and great to see you again. And thanks to everyone in the chat room, everyone that's contributed in terms of your donations. Thank you, and also for all of the questions and the intelligent debate that's been going on over there. Brilliant. Thank you. We'll be back same time next week with Ben at the helm and Michael Whalen as our special guest. Until then, have a fantastic weekend. Have a fantastic Easter, Passover, whatever it is that you do, however you celebrate it. Make sure you celebrate it safely and have fun and drink lots and be merry and eat lots of eggs and whatever it is that people do.
Mostly chocolate.
Mostly chocolate, yeah. It doesn't do my diabetes any good, so I abstain. It's just booze and lamb. Have a fantastic weekend. Take great care. Again, thanks, Tara. Thanks, Maf. See you all soon. Take care.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.